하래 Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have my good brother here in the temple, our resident sky pirate, good brother Sizer.
Ahoy and a vast Mildred, nice to be here covering a game I know absolutely nothing about.
And I know some things about, but I haven't delved too deep in this for a few years. So,
Okay.
it is a new season, a new opportunity upon us, and for this one, the wheel landed on Parselings, uh, which allows me to fulfill the goal of first off showing a wide variety of things, but also showcasing more games that use playing cards. Now, Parselings
More
is
than
a
just
game
Deadlands, folks.
mhm, is a game where words define, and that statement is going to be quite literal, as you'll see as we go into this. This now, full disclosure, uh, I have done an interview about this game several years ago, along with covering its video game spin-off called Fox and Shadow, which is currently in development.
Ooh.
So Leo Chung is no stranger, aka Blue 2 Days, is no stranger to the monastery. I do remember him stating Mage the I think it was either the Ascension or the Awakening, I can't remember which one specifically, was a major influence on the
Okay.
design of Parselings. Hopefully this means it's not going to be as that magic isn't going to be as busted as it is in Mage the Ascension.
Oh goodness, where you can do it just about anything, but as long as no one sees you do it, or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot going on in Mage.
Well, there's one particular build that you could pretty much break the game with. uh, but obviously, for this one, we're going to be getting into a lot of the introductions. So this is going to be a somewhat shorter episode compared to the ones we're going to be getting into later. On the other hand, as far as core books go, Parselings isn't that big. It is only 221 pages. And I have to check this just to...
Which suggests to me, I was just going to say, I know how thick the Mage book is, so I think what my guess is that they've taken some concepts from there and did their own spin on them. But again, know nothing about it, so we'll have to find out.
Yep. Now, we do have an index, and in fact, we have an index that has hyperlinks, which is always very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a table of contents. It's just a bit further on, because instead of opening straight with the table of contents, we open it with a foreword, where they're going into what the intent of the choice system, which is the main resolution system for this game, is going to be, as well as what you're going to need. So, a deck of cards for each player. Each player controls a single character in a deck constructed out of a regular set of playing cards. The cards you choose represent your character's health and mind. The larger the deck, the more options and health that they have. The smaller the deck, the more limited their actions are.
Okay, and I suppose we'll have rules about using cards and discard piles and so on and so forth as we get further into it.
Yeah. While Parselings calls itself a deck-building game on the cover, I don't want to give off the impression that it is a deck-building game the way Slay the Spire is. Or, I suppose a more close to the mark example would be something like Dominion. One of the patient zeros for the idea of a deck-building card game. Uh, but the GM is going to be using dice. Players don't use the die; they're for the benefit of the GM. Uh, so small pool of d6s for small enemies or obstacles, a single d10, d12, and d20 for certain words and how the world sees them. We'll get into that later, but words are very, very important. And obviously, it goes into a paragraph summary of each of the chapters and the appendices. Uh, with certain chapters we cover, we may jump into the appendix because it is covering similar material. So keep in mind for that.
All right, and that I assume we'll find that out where those are when we get to the contents here.
Mm-hmm. But just from the art, you can kind of see the whole words defining with how there's text on everything.
Yep.
Uh,
Everything's a little everywhere there's a little sticky note with the thing written on it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and insofar as the question of is there a setting or is there not a setting, for Parselings there is nominal city.
Ah, I see. It's like Name City.
Yep. Which I always appreciate when games put their foot down as far as what side of the aisle they're on when it comes to that question.
Yeah, just lean into the theme. You know, but if you're naming conventions a little bit on the nose, that'll just help people feel like they know what's going on in the setting.
Mm-hmm. So then we have the table of contents, which is also hyperlinked. Very nice.
Okay. So as far as straight rules sections go, we have like those 6 chapters,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll probably be consulting the appendices a bit as we're going through them.
Yep. And yes, we do have proper bookmarks within the PDF.
Mm.
But
all right, so we're off to a good start. They know how to organize a PDF.
mm-hmm. So after that, we get a bit of a short story, which is a very World of Darkness kind of thing to have a short story interlude before we get into the meat of things.
Yep.
But then we get into introduction proper, and I will read off the introduction blurb here. Parselings takes place in an alternate version of our world. Most of it will be very familiar, however, with a very specific brand of magic. Parasites, organisms of unknown origin, have infiltrated the world and caused irreversible changes to the ecosystem and society. I like that it's just a spin-off parasite. They devour flesh and ideas, yearning to become something more than just a ravenous mouth. If that wasn't enough trouble, these supernatural parasites can infect creatures other than humans, turning them into the stuff of myths and legends, the monsters we dreamed up to scare the children at night, entities ill-suited to exist in the world as we know it. As you play this game, you'll slip into the shoes of a parseling, a human that lives with a supernatural parasite nestled within their body. On the surface, you're almost physically indiscernible from other humans, save from the tattoos on your skin that reveal your perceived nature. When these words are used in conjunction with the words of other people, you can use parses to sculpt the world around you to your desires. The trouble is, you're not the only one with this gift and power, and although some may choose not to abuse their powers, there are many that will.
Okay. So we've got a thing living inside our gut, and it gives us magic power to draw out the power of words, essentially.
Mm-mm.
Although, as of yet, we don't know exactly how it works. But is it Parsasite or Paras? I don't know.
I've gone with Parasite.
Par, Parsite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that works. That works for me. Um, and it's about parsing. It's about understanding, essentially, how
Mm-hmm.
you parse things.
Yep.
So we're going about doing a lot of wordplay here in a game about words. All very thematic.
Yep. And like I said, the World of Darkness DNA is very present, especially in the next part of it, which is this may as well be the lexicon section that you would see in the first chapter of any World of Darkness book, or just any White Wolf book
Mhm.
for that matter. Uh, Starting with the afflicted, about
Yeah, a
how
little. Mhm. Go ahead.
about how even things like parselings are treated with the same degree of suspicion as as parasites or anything else. I.e., it's
Hmm.
best to not announce to the world that you're a parseling unless you want everyone to give you the side eye because they'll look at you like a problem waiting to happen.
Yeah, like kind of like being a mutant in the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm. Uh, and it doesn't help that there's a lot of uncertainty as far as how dangerous parselings can be. But
Mm.
first off, the Parsite, which is a small ink-like creature that lacks an identity. They're trying to build a place in the world for themselves by devouring the identities of others. They're able to perceive the
Okay.
nature of things, but are ignorant of their widespread reputation as a devouring plague. They devour anything that moves,
Interesting.
often adopting traits held by whatever they eat. When left unchecked, these entities will search out similar prey until they begin to develop their own sense of self. Rather than consuming their prey, they invade them physically, rooting themselves within the creature's body, integrating with their consciousness. This creates a tentative symbiosis with the parasite and its hosts, granting them abilities beyond the sum of their individual parts. Many hosts do not survive the process.
Okay. So we've got several degrees of horror here. We've got a bit of a body horror thing as you have this weird creature inside you.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that some people don't survive the process, and just the fact that this thing is kind of like a very unusual life form that is just hungry to become. It
Mm-hmm.
wants to be something, be someone.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yep. Now, humans that survive the infection are parselings, defined by how the world perceives them. And the full definition of a parseling is when their ink blends with others of their kind. And this is a major thing. The magic, for lack of a better term, that's key to this setting, cannot be done solo. It has to be the full effect of it has to be done with groups. Uh,
Okay. Yeah, I can. I kind of get the. I bet you're doing something like building concepts or building phrases together or something like that.
mm-hmm. uh, and once they've become that, they a parseling will feel the urge to gather with others of their kind to immerse themselves in otherwise inaccessible worlds. In contrast, the
Hmm,
Parsite demands consistency and constraints in aspects of personality and self identity. They require the parseling to maintain fidelity at all times to specific words. Survival of both body and mind requires balance, knowing when to keep true to oneself and when to accept new ideas. Should the parseling lean too far in either direction, they will find themselves becoming unrecognizable parodies of who they once were.
I see. So what we got here is you've got a new sort of ethos imposed upon you, where you have to um, well, I guess I'm not exactly sure what, but yeah,
Hmm.
I guess we'll find out more as we go along.
Oh. Now, a parseling that is completely lost their humanity and crossed over becomes an incoherent. They are consumed by the parasite within and are fueled by a single word, an idea. Every incoherent is a unique monster, a creature destined to lose its rationality. This is the
Okay.
final state of the interaction between parseling and parasite. Eventually, the parasite will all but consume the host's identity, burning a singular word straight through who they are and altering them on a physical and conceptual level. These creatures wear the husks of human beings and feign rationality, a mere shade of what they could have been. Their potential has been sucked dry and unleashed for a singular purpose. They might speak like a human, but are given away by their irrational behavior. For those that maintain some sort of sanity or reasoning, they are driven by a deep and profound desire to embody their core identity. Should they not sate the desire, their grip on reality slips, and they descend into little more than a beast. There is no going back from incoherency.
You know what this reminds me a little bit of is as like the DC Vertigo series where you get these really like weird concepts in comic book form.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shade the Changing Man comes to mind immediately. That was probably the weirdest one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I kind of liked that era of I guess it's not exact that DC imprint.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting books coming out of there for sure. Not for everybody, but you know that's okay.
Yep. But then we have the concept of parselings, not parselings, but parses. As individuals, parselings are single agents in a bigger design, a word in a sentence, meaningless without context. Based on the perception and understanding of the words they bear, a parse is the communication between two parselings about what they wish their reality to be, and the external force of their identity in the world as power. All parselings need is physical contact with their kind, an understanding of the parse they are to attempt, and to utter their words. Sometimes the effects of a parse are minor, mere parlor tricks. Other times they can push the boundaries of the laws of reality. No matter the parse, it causes a strain on those involved. The cost of using a parse is taken from the parseling's mind, and in severe cases, their bodies. Upon being created, these magics have the ability to shift the properties of anything within sight, often resulting in unforeseen problems. If left to fester, they can rot and develop into catastrophes. There have been reports of telepathic links between parselings during their parses.
All
So,
right, so this is why we have to play this as a group.
mhm. You could look at parses as the quote unquote spells of the thing, and that is there's a certain irony to that, given that what was a grimoire in ancient times was not far removed from what we would consider a dictionary now.
Hmm.
So you could kind of look at this idea of parses as going full circle with that concept.
Okay.
Uh, of course, then lingua. When an animal host is infected with a parasite, it becomes a lingua. They are simpler in composition and ability than a parseling, which reflects the simpler cognitive identity of animals. They are single-minded, fueled by their drive to thrive and grow. The forms of lingua are as varied as the creatures in the animal kingdom and more. They typically begin to deviate from normal animal development several days after infection. Like parasites, they feed on representations of their core identity to sustain their growth. Once the parasite is sufficiently integrated with its host, it becomes a greater lingua capable of much more. Fundamentally different from a parseling, these creatures have not typically are not typically known to initiate a parse on their own. However, they seem to be drawn to other parasite-based organisms.
Okay. So okay, I guess does it say whether they can actually communicate? Because I guess maybe not if they're animals, but lingua is just
Mhm.
root of language. Um, is that is that Latin? It maybe. I bet it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm just musing to myself about Romance languages now, so we can move on.
Mhm. But then it goes into some of the themes of the game. The four themes, almost pillars, need to be creativity, personal freedom, identity and labels, and ideals and dreams.
Hmm.
And there does seem to be this. With being a parseling, there appears to be a balancing act between embodying a given word and accepting of new ideas. And going too far
Hmm.
into either way leads to becoming an incoherent.
Okay. Hey. All
With
right. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay. So it does kind of it requires the parceling to strike this balance that we don't normally have to worry about too much, I suppose.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then we have a section on terminology, and I do like that this section here is also hyperlinked. You can't see it on stream because I'm not showing my cursor for it, but but the different C blank on page blank is hyperlinked, which is
Oh
nice.
yeah. So it is.
But
Yeah.
a lot of these terms we will get into as we as we develop as we develop our understanding of the game, and we'll go into different different elements. But
On its own terms and understanding the language that it's speaking,
mhm,
right? Because we're dealing with some fairly high concepts here,
mhm,
and I think it was just going to require getting in a certain headspace to really figure out what this game is trying to do
mhm.
and to be able to speak its language.
Oh yeah.
But I'm here for it.
Hmm. And after that, we have I think there's going to be one of these short stories between each chapter,
Mm.
which, as an aside, I will note I enjoy the very ink blot design of the pages as well as the art that we've got.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like a bit. It seems like it feels like what I've seen so far, and I know this isn't really necessarily one of the themes of the game, but it feels like the modern existing alongside the natural,
mhm,
because we see like in that one we've got the vines twisting around the outside structure of the building, and maybe some plants here and there. Um, yeah, it's nice.
mhm,
Little skewed. That's purposeful, obviously. Makes you feel just a little bit um, out of your element.
mhm.
This is me as an art critic. Maybe yeah, maybe I should go into a new line now.
uh, then we get to getting started, which is the other chapter we're going to get into. Uh, and this this particular chapter is going to delve a little bit into character creation, which does mean we have a little bit of a um, at a glance of the way the character sheet is designed, and I really like the look of the sheet. Um,
Yeah,
though it's clear that this is a sheet that is better served in IRL play than on virtual tabletop, if I'm being honest.
yeah, it does seem like it. Let me. I can't even tell what's. This looks kind of small. I'm gonna have to zoom in a little bit here.
Hmm.
Where's my zoomer? to see what's on all those the stuff on the lower sheet because there's just a lot of stuff there. Okay, those are the skills, and then we have a lot of stuff that I think relates to, like, what how your mental state, like whether you're going to go incoherent or not.
Hmm.
Um, we have a lot of things to do with words up above. Let's see, long-term goals, paragraph goals, short-term goals, quotes. That's nice. I bet. I wonder if quotes like are those. I wonder if those are things like your character said
Hmm.
that like are worth remembering, and they actually have some kind of effect on the game too.
Yeah.
That'd be a unique touch.
Hmm. It certainly could be. Oh,
Yeah.
and some of these elements we will get into later, but we obviously we have character name, um, pla uh, the principles, which is the cornerstones of your character's concept, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which is what is meant by the whole short-term goals, long-term goals, and paragraph goals. Uh, Appearance, personality, history, goals are self-explanatory. I do want to cover goals in a bit more specificity. Set some goals for your characters to your character to achieve. They should be in line with your current campaign. Discuss with the GM what an appropriate goal might be. When a goal is achieved, your character gains script, and you will need to state a new goal for your character.
Okay. Script, huh? All right.
And let me scroll back to that lexicon so we could get a feel for what script is. Let's see. SS.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Script. Used to progress and improve your character. It represents small units of story and experiences that your character gains throughout the campaign. So script is our XP equivalent. It looks like,
Yeah.
again with that World of Darkness DNA, we're dealing with what I call XP as currency,
Mm-hmm.
which I have had to clarify what I mean when I say that. XP as currency does not mean XP and gold are the same thing, for example.
No.
But rather than instead of leveling up, you're just getting XP and spending that directly.
Indeed, and typically in World of Darkness, at the very least, the higher, usually you have 1 to 5 dots
Hmm.
in whatever thing you're trying to level up, and typically the XP works like new dot times 5 for a trade, or 3 for a skill, or 2 for a merit. Um, at least in the World
Hmm.
of Darkness versions I played, that was the calculation.
That's there's some variations, but that's the gist of it within the storyteller system as a whole.
Hmm.
But the next step is words, and with a lot of these we'll be getting into more detail as we go on. As a group, you pick out
Okay.
words for your characters. These form the basis of your powers and are integral in defining your potential. While there are no inherently wrong answers, you will need to justify your choices to the GM. Any words chosen should relate back to how either others see your character, or how your character describes themselves. This can be any type of word that describes your character. The words fall into two different categories: aspects and augments. These categories define how the words can be used together in fabricating a parse. Aspects are nouns which represent core parts of your character and will be used in parsing to define the target of the parse. Augments are any type of word that can be used to describe your character. They can be nouns, verbs, adjectives, or adverbs. Uh,
Mm.
there are two methods of determining your word. We recommend the use of the 10-20 method as it will give you a greater variation of possible words at character creation. The ad-lib method allows for quicker character generation. Remember that at the end of each story arc, you'll have the opportunity to replace words that no longer fit your character. which I am.
Okay, I wonder how that works with the Parsite.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, we'll delve into the 10-20 versus ad lib, but one thing that's going to make or break this game is guidance. And actually, those two methods are the next the next column. Uh, so the the first option, 10-20, you evenly divide the word pool slots of your character between the GM, your co-players, and yourself. Each other member will contribute at least one aspect and 2 augments. At the end of this process, you should have a total of 10 aspects and 20 augments in your potential word list. Number the aspects 1 to 10, then roll 1d10 to determine your character's first aspect. Number the augments 1 to 20, then roll 3d20 to determine your character's first 3 augments. If any words repeat, re-roll. You can repeat this process again and choose the set of words that you prefer.
Okay. Interesting. So this is really how you. This seems like a fairly interesting way to define your character and like all the things about them. Um, because you're essentially writing, like a word cloud of attributes that your character has.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be like, if you have the augments, you could have like, car and dopey and stressed as like as the 3 words that you choose at character creation or that you roll up on character creation. But
Mm-hmm.
that's just part of the word cloud, and you'll get more later probably
Oh yeah.
as you level up the character,
Mm-hmm.
or not level up necessarily, but as you go through the story.
Yep. Then adlib is the format recommending if you want a quicker setup. Your character will get 1 aspect and 2 augments from each other player in the GM. You fill up the words until you have a total of 6 aspects and 12 augments. Number the aspects from 1 to 6, then roll 1d6 to determine your character's first aspect. Number the augments 1 to 12, and then roll 3d12 to determine your character's first 3 augments. Reroll for any repeated words. When using this method at the end of each session, you may add 1 word to each other character until you've reached 10 aspects and 20 augments.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, between the two, I feel like the 10-20 method feels the most natural to it.
Mm.
That's
It's
just
definitely I mean, it's longer, but it allows you more personal freedom with what you want to do. Whereas the ad lib method, it definitely requires you to sort of put a little more trust in the people around the table.
Mm-hmm. But either way, character creation is a group activity, so we're still keeping to that theme.
Yeah.
But step 3 is image. You need to decide on your character's image. This will explain how the character is shown in the game when others see them. Image is divided into 4 groups. Intent, which ties into intelligence and foresight. Feats, which ties into force and finesse. Conduct, which ties into charm and cunning. And push, which ties into potential and perseverance. Figure
Got a
out
bit
which...
of alliteration going on with all 4 of those there.
Mm-hmm. Figure out what is most important to your character and choose a primary and secondary category. Your character begins with 1 point in each image stat as the innate ability of any living being. You do not spend points to fill in the starting segments. You will have 7 points to spread among your images. They must be distributed on a 3, 2, 1, 1 point spread. 3 points in the images of the primary category, 2 points in the secondary category, 1 point in each of the remaining 2 categories. You cannot have a character with more than 4 points or more in any image. And yeah, this is where we're getting into that dots thing you mentioned before, and I've kind of been hinting at since we're channeling so much storyteller system in this. The whole primary and
Yep.
secondary and tertiary set of dots.
Physical, mental, social.
Mm-hmm.
Although not exactly that in this particular case.
Mm-hmm. Regardless, you should have a total of 15 points. Um, 8 points spread across each category, and 7 assigned points.
Hmm.
And we kind of get to see how this works in practice through the example setup. And this kind of diagram representing the stats I really like. It's a very at a glance look at your particular stats, as well as showing how they tie to the suits of the playing card deck.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I see that now. They have the suits all on there.
Mm-hmm. But step 4 is aptitude. Decide your aptitudes represent your talents and skills, and there are 3 overarching categories: intent, so things like crafting, medicine, memory, perception, research, and technology; feats, so athletics, larceny, melee, ranged, writing, and stealth; and conduct, acting, animals, empathy, etiquette, manipulation, and rumors. What? No animal can? No, I'm kidding. But you organize these categories by designating a primary and secondary. These should be the 2 most important groups of aptitudes for your character. You get 1 point in each of these aptitudes, representing innate ability. You have 15 points to spread among your aptitudes, which have to be distributed on a 7-5 3-point spread. So we don't have
Back to
individual
that again.
skills, we have skill categories, it appears. And
Okay.
actually, let me load up the stat sheet in a different window just so I can double check. Okay, we do have a skill setup. I was incorrect on that. But 753, this is
Yes.
going to be very
6
familiar.
for
Um,
yeah.
so 7 points in the aptitudes of the primary, 5 in the secondary, and 3 in the remaining one. Much like uh, with image, you can't have more than 4 points in any aptitude.
Hmm.
So we
Okay,
do
so you
have
get a few limitations of character creation.
mhm. We do have essentially an attribute and skill relationship. Uh, but but the amount of for lack I'm going to call it skills just out of habit. But there's only 6 skills
Hmm.
in each, so it's nowhere near as sprawling as it could have been.
Yeah.
Like, I came up in the 90s. I remember seeing some of those skill lists that got so ridiculous they had an entire page just to themselves in some cases.
Yeah. We always come back to 3.0 or 3.5 with that
3.0 was one of
ridiculous
was one
skill
of the
list.
more tolerable ends of that spectrum at that point. Like,
Hmm.
it's one of the many reasons Palladium is my whipping boy, because of the skill list in that thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but then we have the derived stats. First off, your health, which is going to be the sum of perseverance and force. Then your potential, which is equal to, well, the potential image. This is, I'd say, since it talks about it being a renewable resource that you can use to change the outcome of a check, I'm thinking potential is akin to willpower.
Yeah, that does sound a lot like willpower,
Hmm. And
which
perseverance.
allows you to, if for those maybe if you don't know, or for those that don't know World of Darkness, you can usually blow a willpower and give yourself like a dice bonus of like usually I recall it being 3d10 to a
Yeah,
particular check.
you can. You in some cases you could use it to automatically pass certain resistances,
Hmm.
or especially if you had to act um, against your vice, for instance, or its equivalent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. That was
But
in like fourth edition, I think, the one that was like Requiem and Changeling the Lost, etc.
it was also an exalted, using
Oh yeah, yeah,
willpower
yeah.
to resist um, acting against certain virtues, uh,
Hmm.
which certainly works. But it's one of those things where you need to make sure you don't have that guy.
Yeah.
Uh, we all know that guy. We all don't like that guy. But
Geez, Gary.
mhm,
I'm sorry if your name is Gary. That's the first name that came to mind.
yep. But we have another resource in perseverance, which is equal to your perseverance image. This is a renewable resource that can be used to recompose your deck. So just looking at the terminology, recompose means reshuffling the discard back into your deck. Pretty straightforward.
Hmm.
Uh, then,
To be used strategically, no doubt.
mhm. Yep, then your defense rating, which is equal to perseverance plus insight plus finesse plus cunning divided by 2. So so half of your whole image.
Yep.
Uh,
Interesting that you're using so many different skills for that.
yeah, it.
I guess those aren't skills; those are image, like parts of your image for that. Yeah.
Mhm. Uh, it does mean that you don't have one stat that's the god stat for people who are going to lean more into combat.
Yep.
Uh, and your initiative, which is equal to potential plus insight plus finesse. Which, which again, you don't have the issue of the god stat. Uh,
Yep.
then your speed, which is equal to force plus finesse, so how far you can move in a single turn. Then your carry rating, how much you can carry, which is equal to potential plus force times 2 plus perseverance.
Okay.
Then your deck size, which
So
is
we
equal
got a
to.
little bit of an encumbrance thing going on. If we need
Mhm,
to.
yep. Then the deck size, which is equal to your image. This is the number of cards you can have in your deck. Uh, and from what I
So
recall,
that would seem to indicate.
mm,
I was just gonna say, that would seem to indicate that everybody starts with the same, right? Because everybody has the same number in image to begin with.
yeah.
15. Okay.
And from what I remember, there is a bit of strategy in terms of picking what cards from the full deck you're going to have in it.
Hmm.
But after that are the parse traits. First being articulation, which starts at 1. This represents your understanding of your abilities and dictates how many words you can have.
Hmm.
Uh, then coherency, which is your control over and retention of your own mind. You start at coherency 7. At 0, you either die or undergo incoherency.
Hmm. Keep coherent, kids.
Hmm.
I can
Uh,
alliterate too.
then your syllable score, which is derived from the sum of insight plus cunning plus articulation, which is your capacity to use parse powers. And then your parse aptitude, which represents your skill in contributing to a parse. It is divided into three types. Emission, which is intelligence plus insight. Your ability to coax ideas and concepts into existence where they weren't there. Embodiment, finesse plus
Mm-hmm.
force. Your ability to manipulate your own bodies and typically those of everyone partaking in the parse. And enchantment, cunning plus charm. Your ability to manipulate external objects or targets that are not participating in the parse.
Okay. So you've got emission is like um creating something is like creating something out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh embodiment is your ability to change um your own body and the bodies of the people in the parse.
Mm-hmm.
And enchantment is manipulating other things
Yep.
that are not in the parse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got it.
Then the final thing.
I'm saying it
Oh,
out loud just so
mhm.
I remember it better,
Oh
because
yeah.
this is a lot to take in.
Oh yeah. But then the final steps involve first tricks, which you have 7 points to spend on. Uh, and in order to, and if you're spending points on tricks, you have to spend all points of a trick in order to get its benefits. I suppose tricks would be akin to knacks.
Hmm.
Uh, they are in the lexicon. It's described as special perks that change how you play during the game. Uh,
Maybe we'll even get a few more of those in the next section. I'm going to poke ahead. I don't see any right away, but
they're
I'm sure there's somewhere.
the full list of them is going to be in Appendix A.
Oh, yeah, I see that now. Okay. All right.
Yep. A optional step is challenges. With the GM's approval, you may write challenges for your character. Ideally, they should be appropriate for the character's personality or history. The challenges will interfere with and hinder your character's journey and should not be taken on a whim. Write the challenges on a single joker and add it to your deck. This does not count against your maximum card limit. If you take a
Hmm.
challenge, you get 2 additional points to purchase tricks.
Okay. Sounds like challenges are kind of bad, though. Like things that you're going to have to put a lot of effort into overcome.
Mm-hmm. And finally, script. With the GM's approval, you may start with additional script to improve your character. In campaigns featuring more experienced characters, you may be offered additional starting script. Additionally, you can opt to lower your coherency by 1 for an additional 5 script to be used after character creation. You may gain a maximum of 10 script this way.
Okay, just to remember, coherency goes up to 10. So you're already halfway down if you take if you go down to 5 from there.
Mm-hmm. It is a risk you are taking, but the option is there.
Yeah. I'm reminded here with the coherency scale of like the different paths in World of Darkness, which also go from 1 to 10 typically. Vampires run the path of humanity, for instance, because they're trying to maintain that humanity and not give in to the beast.
Yeah.
And
Mage,
also
I
there's a
believe, had
potential kind of
paradox.
character death too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, and like getting low in coherency is like bad. Like becoming low in the path humanity is kind of bad because
mm-hmm.
at that point your character can like get NPC'd or just maybe when it no longer feels like mass murder is a bad thing. That's when the sheriff sends the sheriff comes after you
Hmm.
and then you are no more. So,
Yeah. Uh, I think we've all had to deal with at least one player at some point who decided to treat the masquerade as a suggestion,
yep.
and then acted surprised when
There's a
everyone else
reason.
sold them out to the
That,
Camarilla.
yep. Good reason that these vampires stay hidden, folks.
Hmm.
Um, the hunters and the kine are worthy adversaries in numbers. So be careful.
That and because of so much exposure through popular culture, everybody more or less knows the major weaknesses of vampires. So
Yep.
so imagine what would happen if say the army or a SWAT team found out that there were vampires in a given city.
Yep. Load up on wooden stakes. Get a little. Get ready. Get a few swords for beheading. You're good to go.
Mm-mm. In fact, that in in the Dresden Files books, that more or less happened. The Red Court vampires are pretty much extinct.
Mm. What was up with the Red Court? Were they like the Sabbat, where they didn't really care about staying hidden?
They were the traditional vampire,
Hmm.
but when so many people are
Like,
aware of vampiric weaknesses, uh,
okay.
eventually the hunt was on until there weren't any anymore.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
mm,
And if
but
you're out there, living like Count Orlok in like an ancient palace and dressing like it's 2 centuries ago, people are gonna catch on to that, I suppose.
mm,
Anyway,
yep. So then we go a little bit further
all right. So we
into
got an example character sheet
yep,
here. Yeah.
yep. Which again, I really love the layout of the character sheet here.
Yeah. I'm wondering what those little person icons are. Where are those?
I
Kind
think
of in the
they're
middle towards the
supposed
bottom.
I think they're supposed to represent where the words are on that person.
Okay. Oh, poor Marley O'Neill. He's got malaise as an aspect.
Hmm.
Wouldn't want to embody that.
But then it does go into how you can get script. Uh, Obviously, showing up is gonna get you a line of script.
Hmm.
Doing some sort of character growth, doing something heroic, doing something wise. Once per session, if you take a grave failure, you can get a line of script, as well as a critical success. If you achieve your goals, you get a line of script. Um, if you did something quotable, you get a line of script. That's definitely a storyteller system conceit. Um, and it's not the multiplied by 4 thing, but we do have that concept of the more dots you're trying to get into something, the more expensive it's going to be script wise.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay, script expenditure, image aptitude, articulation, and tricks.
mhm.
Okay, yeah. That's a nice, handy little table. I like it.
Mhm. Uh, and then when it comes to the character deck, as mentioned, this is going to be using a regular playing card deck, but you don't have access to the whole deck right out of the gate. Uh, your You have a number of cards in your deck based on deck size, which, as mentioned, is the sum of the parts of your image.
Hmm.
Each card has two things to consider: the suit and the value. Value is obviously the number that's being used. Oh. And it determines how many potential successes it could provide in any check. A card can only take its full value if it's equal or less than the draw. Now, then we have the kind of effects that you can get from it. So, aces are simple and effective courses of actions. 2 to 3 are simple tricks. 4 to 5 are some degree of natural talent or practice. 6 to 7 is taking it a step further, i.e., an understanding of difficult approaches to problems. 8 to 9 are techniques and mindsets that require a true master of a craft. And 10 is absolute peak of ability in an area.
Okay.
Then, as mentioned, your deck size equals your image points. This is the maximum number of cards allowed in the deck. Conditions and challenges don't count. When your image increases, so does your deck. When that happens, you can add a card of the corresponding suit to your deck. If you choose not to add a card, you cannot add it at a later date. You can reduce the deck size further with the reduction trick. We'll get to that eventually. So this does mean that if you spend a point to increase image, the image type is going to determine what type of card is going to get added.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
And of course, the suits have their own theme, and each suit is paired with two image stats, which we kind of saw that when we were going through the character creation.
Yep, got the clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades with the each of the four sort of trait. Are they called traits? What are they called?
Image.
Oh, that is image. Okay, yeah.
So clubs have
getting used to the game's vocabulary.
Yeah, clubs have force and finesse. Hearts have intelligent and instinct. Diamonds have perseverance and potential, and spades have charisma and cunning.
Okay.
And within the character sheet, there's a kind of checklist for what cards you have in the deck, which is a nice way to keep track of that between sessions. But the way they describe it is clubs are for those who are intent on interacting in a physical manner. Planning and understanding the world is going to be a spade thing. People who love to maneuver, manipulate, and understand their peers will use hearts. Diamonds are treated as a wild card, used in manipulating the deck as well as retaining a sense of self. Now, when it comes to your starting cards, you'd place the face cards to the side for now. These will represent challenges and conditions. When they're in the deck, they do not count towards deck size. Aces are always treated as value 1. So we've got aces low instead of high for this one. For the cards in front of you, You'd pick cards to fill your deck. Your image point allocation will dictate which cards you can choose. So for each point in push, you pick a diamond. For each point in intent, you pick a spade. For each point in feats, you pick a club. And for each point in conduct, you pick a heart. If you
Okay.
took a challenge, you would pick a joker, write down what the challenge was, and add it to the deck.
So my first question is, what's going to stop you from just taking a bunch of 9s and 10s? Or is there a reason not to?
I have a feeling there's going to be a reason not to.
Okay.
And whenever you spend script for any reason, you can add cards up to your deck size. If you've reached the maximum number of cards allowed, you can spend 1 script to replace a card in your deck. The card replaced does not have to be the same value. We also have the optional rule of renewing resolve. At the conclusion of a story arc, you have the opportunity to replace 1 card in your deck for every other player and GM in the game. Also, when you achieve a goal and earn script, you can replace 1 card in your deck for another suit or value of your choice. So when it comes, then they have a thing here on deck builds. So I think there's a bit of strategy when it comes to what cards you're going to be putting in, which kind of answers that question earlier. And because it is talking about draw and how it's how there's a matter of complexity. I'm going to be jumping ahead a bit, but basically, you actually don't, based on what I'm seeing here, and I'll get into more detail with this later. You don't want the higher value cards at first.
Okay.
Because the draw is essentially the maximum number of cards you can reveal in a check.
Okay.
You also need to have a certain success threshold. If the value of the card is below the draw, it adds its value in successes. If it's above the draw, it only adds 1.
Okay. So there's a reason not to load up on 9s and 10s.
Mm-hmm. Higher numbers will give more successes, but there's also the risk of not being able to use them as much because the draw is too low. But
okay, well, asked and answered.
But there are a few builds that are talked about when it comes to picking your cards. For the generalist build, where it's typically recommended to select low value cards between 2 to 4. You'll be drawing 3 to 4 cards on average for most checks, which will give you a fair chance to succeed on simple tasks or moderate tasks. For simple, you need 2 successes. For moderate, you need 7. Difficult tasks you might not be able to do in a single check, but you're more suited to preserving your stamina. For a difficult task, you need 14 successes.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair amount. Is that the highest difficulty, or is there like a super extra difficult task? Guess we'll find out later.
Yeah, I believe there is a step higher, but On the
Okay.
other hand, you could go with a specialist build who's put a lot of their focus on one particular area, or maybe two. You're going to be really good at something and really bad at a lot of other things.
Hmm.
Uh, it is suggested that you pick high value cards that are equal to or just below your highest draw, and avoid taking low cards such as aces, twos, and threes. Uh,
Okay.
this means that
This feels like that. Yeah. Go ahead.
uh, because of that, for the things that you focus on, you'll have an easier time to do difficult tasks, but for everything else, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah. Like, this feels like the neurodivergent option to me. As someone who is neurodivergent, I feel like I can say that because it's like, it's gonna is for a person with ADHD, it feeds into that idea of hyper focus, where you're really good at difficult things if you're into it, but like really mundane things can be a challenge.
Mhm. Truth be told, based on how I'm seeing this, I would not recommend someone do a specialist build for their first character.
Ah, okay. So you want to spread it out a little bit as a generalist for your first one.
That's the vibe I get.
Okay.
That being a jack of being a jack of multiple trades is going to help out early on because you're probably going to be seeing more simple or moderate tasks more often than not at the start.
Yeah.
Uh, now, if someone wants to use the push mechanic, which we'll get to later, um, there are other parts to consider when it comes to doing builds based on if they're doing potential, perseverance, or or not. Uh, but if you're doing that, that is a conscious choice. Uh, and let me check the lexicon once again for what is referred to as.
Potential and
Yeah.
perseverance.
So with potential, it lets you boost your use of skills,
Mm,
and and perseverance, as mentioned before, lets you recompose your deck without spending a turn.
okay. When I see potential, I just think, it's your ability to maybe or maybe not go Super Saiyan.
Hmm. There's a term I've used for certain resources in games that allow you to get a limited use bonus, and that is extra effort. Uh,
Yeah,
I know some people call it meta narrative mechanic or whatever, and I'm like, I don't like that term. It doesn't sound right. It sounds pretentious.
sure.
Uh,
It does sound. I can see that, and extra effort is more to the
mhm.
point.
Yeah, I ended up ad libbing the term a while ago, and it just stuck. But after
Yeah,
that, they do talk a bit
like if
on
you,
word. What?
I was just gonna say, if you think about it, like pretty much any way you play a character is a meta narrative mechanic too, um, because you are basically puppeteering this
Mhm.
character. Anything that you do um, is just you adding, sort of parting the veil a little bit to make them do things.
Mhm.
The fact that a character would go to a little bit of extra effort or use willpower or whatever is really not um, is just another meta narrative mechanic, I suppose, if we want to use the pretentious term. So extra effort, like it.
Mhm. But then we have the concept of words and labels, which we mentioned before. And you remember when I said that this kind of game is going to live and die on guidance? I feel like this is where we get
Hmm.
the answer to that,
Okay.
because they do give a few examples about what some of those words could be through personality, um, goals, imperfections, principles, appearance, and history.
Mm.
And on the next page, where they're talking about developing the word pools for aspects and augments, as well as finding words that fit the character, we have a nice set of 20 questions that, while not giving a defined list, are ideas to consider. And I like
Yeah.
that for what would be the word, they have that in caps. For example, when they play a video game, what singular word describes the most useful trait of their avatar?
Hmm. Pick another character on the team. What pair of nouns would you use to compare them to you? We got pair and nouns
Mm-hmm.
are and these are all things that are like game terms too, it would seem.
Yep.
Several of them are anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about envy or adore.
I think the
Okay.
part that's in caps is meant to be what the word in the answer to that question would be.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
that makes more sense. I was reading a little I was going a little too deep with that one.
mhm. But they also say that for aspects, try to find common ideas or concepts that could be found in day-to-day life. For augments, try to use words that have their own inherent connotations. As they say, as an example, ire, exasperate, irritated, annoyed, angry could be different variations of a condition, but each have their own unique connotation and may carry other definitions to draw from.
Hmm.
Uh, there's also the fact that, and I do like the whole an evolving list part, which is making clear,
Hmm.
do not assume that your starting pool of words is going to be what you're stuck with for the entire campaign. 'Cause at
Cool.
the
And
end,
it doesn't sound like it sounds like it's something that's not given out through script,
mhm,
but rather just through gameplay.
mhm,
Oh yeah, it just says down there, end of a story arc or session, you can replace one aspect in an augment.
mhm. I'd say if you want to get
Oh, but
more
you
of,
do have to go through from the word. Yeah.
yeah, I'd say if you wanted to get more of them, then you'd have to be spending script. But
Yeah.
that summarizes introduction and getting started. Obviously,
Hmm.
next week we'll get into the choice system, but so far, what do you think of what we have here with Parselings?
This is a game to play with a bunch of English majors. No, maybe not. But people who have English degrees or excel in language. No, I don't think that's true. I think you can enjoy this game perfectly well if even if your vocabulary isn't like a million words. Um, it's a this, this is I don't feel like this is a game to play when you are wide awake and ready to go. It's not something you can sleepwalk through, right? It's going to be something that requires your wits, requires your really fire the language centers of your brain, your Bracas and Wernicke's areas, um, because not only do you need to start to internalize all of these different ideas that the game is throwing at you and all of the different sort of unique gameplay aspects, but you also it sounds like creativity is going to be very involved in how you bring about how you use your words, how you put together parses with your teammates and so forth. So, I think it is a game to play after you've had a Red Bull or two, after you've taken your meds for the day, um, when you are not to be played just before bedtime. Uh, maybe that's not the most helpful suggestion, but to me, it's just a lot, and I need a little more time to digest it, I think, before I can say more. I want to see how it plays out, but I
Hmm.
really like the high concepts. I really like um, what was it Joe? No, who was the it was Joe? It was what
Um,
was the name of the author?
um, Leo.
Leo Chung. I really like what he's doing here. Um, so far, I there were a few ways things were worded that kind of threw me off at first, but
Hmm.
we did manage to get through each section with me eventually understanding what was going on. So I
Yep.
guess mission accomplished, right?
Hmm.
Um, uh, Leo is smarter than my brain is at understanding Leo, I suppose. Anyway, cautiously optimistic, I think is the way I'd like to put it.
Hmm. Now, I had mentioned this several
How
times.
about you, Monk?
Yeah, I had mentioned this several times during this, but there was a lot of World of Darkness DNA, and
Mhm.
for those who prefer having their fully realized character right out of the gate, and this is going to be a more natural fit for them.
Mm,
I think. Uh,
yeah.
I'd say once you get an understanding of the high concept that it's going with, where words define reality. Uh, I think everything else is going to be moving a bit smoother. Obviously, some people are going to have a adjustment period over not rolling dice. The big thing that's going to make or break this game is guidance. This is a very narrative leaning game, and I I've spoken quite a bit on the importance of guidance when you have what I call blank check systems.
Mm,
Which it Blank check systems are those mechanics or those parts of a rule set where there's supposed to be some, well, fill in the blank that players and GMs are supposed to do. A major example of this would be like aspects in Fate, which I'd argue is an example of less good um, guidance.
yeah.
You know, it's also the reason why when it comes to certain aspects of Fabula Ultima, I was critical of how reliant it was on the genre savviness of the table. I said the same thing
Mm,
about Candela Obscura, where
sure.
it felt like instead of guiding people on its particular style, it was just assuming that you already had that figured out from the word go, which I don't think is the right call.
Yeah.
Uh, but what really helps the whole concept of word, which is going to be one of the bigger instances uh, of this guidance question, was the 20 questions we saw earlier.
Hmm.
Obviously, you're not going to use all of them, but I could see that but because of the whole 10-20 thing that we saw during character creation, I could see that getting used at a table. Uh, and in regards to the question of, well, why don't you just take nothing but tens? Uh,
Yeah.
I think we kind of have that question answered in the fact that, hey, you can take when you take tens, you're going to be really good at certain tasks and absolute ass at others, or you're going to require more cards in order to do certain tasks.
Yeah. Potentially a lot more cards if you're trying to if the amount of successes you need is 4 and you only get one success per 9 or 10.
Hmm. But I'd say we'll have a much stronger view on the card part of it once we get into the choice system next week.
Yes.
We kind of dipped into that. Oh, and I should note draw is equal to the sum of image and aptitudes that are tied to a given check. So
Mhm.
basically, attribute plus skill determines how many cards you can draw.
Yes.
Uh, and the one elephant in the room I do have to address is, unless you're playing through something like Tabletop Simulator, I don't think this is a game that lends itself well to virtual tabletops.
I could see that. I mean, how are you? I'm sure there's ways you could do the deck building. Um, there's other like are there like VTT deck building mods? I've not looked into this, so.
It can be done, but it's hard. But you have to have the deck either in a side thing in the journal or on the table. So it can be
Hmm.
done, but I wouldn't call it elegant. Uh,
Yeah. Suppose in that case you could be on the honor system.
mhm,
Uh, you know, I might just if I were gonna do it over a VTT, that's what I might do. Um,
yeah, and I have seen people use Tabletop Simulator as a VTT, so that is an option.
mhm.
In fact, I especially saw that when I saw an actual play of Perfect Draw, which makes sense since Perfect Draw is trying to emulate card game anime.
Okay, like Yu-Gi-Oh, etc.
Hmm. And that is it's a common mistake I've seen people make where they assume that one can emulate the card game in TTRPG form with it. I'm like, no, it's trying to emulate the anime, not the card game itself.
Yeah,
So it's not trying to emulate Yu-Gi-Oh the card game, it's trying to emulate Yu-Gi-Oh the anime.
yeah.
But the I will note as a final thing the other reason why suits are important when it comes to checks. Only cards that match the suit contribute to successes.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. That's why it's that generalist build can be very useful in certain circumstances.
Hmm.
You got a little bit of all those suits in play.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
But
I'm excited to learn more for sure.
hmm um, I did realize as I was going through this, I could see somebody hacking this system to do something like the card setup you saw in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's certainly a potential thing. I won't be exploring it anytime soon, but it is there for those who want to pursue it. Uh, it'll be
Okay.
really interesting when we get to the word system because, from what I recall, uh, this is a magic system that almost demands that you use it in groups, and group casting
Hmm.
isn't as emphasized in a lot of RPGs.
No, that's definitely true. Definitely true. And I can't think of any that do that. I can think of ones. I can probably think of ones where it's possible, but not where it's emphasized.
Yeah, it's been there. There's things like group rituals and the like in various games, but they've always been more of a side thing.
Hmm. it's technically possible, so we'll throw a few rules at it.
Hmm.
And I guess homebrew the rest if you have to.
Yeah. The only one I can think of where it's a bit more integrated is in Adventurer Conqueror King system, where the highest tier spells you need additional hands to help out with those. But it is done in that manner because if you're
Okay.
at that level, you already have followers regardless of class. You already have followers in a holding.
Right. Cool. Got a few flunkies who can, you know, do whatever you need to do in your ritual,
Hmm.
magic ritual. Doesn't sound scary or, uh, you know, macabre at all, when put that way.
Yeah, but with that said, we will be back here in a week looking at the choice system, where we're going to be delving into how the mechanics work in full. And I'm certain we'll see how the individual cards work in some other forms as well. But
Mm-hmm.
until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
See ya.